Why licensed sports games are positioned to win big in mobile. And so I would love to introduce John Middleton and Alex Verrey of Nifty Games to talk about this subject.
All right.
There you are. All right, take it away.
Have we made it? We've done it.
Alex isn't quite here yet, but that's all right. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
There we go.
Hello, Kate. How are you doing?
Thanks. Good.
By the way, there's like a fantastic, the last presentation, a really interesting segue into kind of what, some of the aspects of what we're going to talk about. So that was
Excellent.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Huh?
Yeah.
Really good. Thanks,
But
Alex.
his take on the Alexander's take on kind of the availability of realism and you know, IP in gaming is you know, it's not all that different than what we're talking about. So.
Well, indeed. So let us segue in. I'm a lowly PR guy. You don't want to hear too much from me. So my name's Alex. I'm the global PR director of a company called Heaven Media. We're a gaming marketing agency. Nifty Games is one of our clients. The reason I wanted to introduce John is simply put that we go back a long way. So John is more than a client. He's a friend. And I worked with John Middleton back in the days of Mad Cats. Where John was instrumental within the board as our business development director. John, I hope I don't embarrass you when I say I think you're one of the most ubiquitous and best known business development guys in the business, and I know you've been doing that for a long time.
Oh well, yeah, it's a painful amount of mingling, but yeah, no, it's all good.
Well, for about a decade when I knew you were working together at Mad Cats, I know that that Nifty Games is the culmination of a dream that you've had for a very, very long time. I know that sports and sports gaming is a subject very close to your heart. So if it's okay with you, John, why don't we spin a little video that we've got
to kind of give the flavor of where we're at with sports nowadays.
Yeah. So if the guys from Pocket Gamer could kindly spin that video, that'd be great. I wonder if they're listening to us.
I hope so. I don't know.
Well, I am here. I don't have the ability to do that, but
So I sent the link to Sally. I could do a screen share, but I think my frame rate's going to be brutal. But I could try.
We sent the link over to Sally, and I think she sent that over to your team.
Okay, I just pinged them.
No problem at all. I tell you what, while we get that ready,
we'll keep going while we're
I'll work
waiting.
on that. You guys,
you'll work on that. I don't want to hold things up. So I tell you what, John, why not give everybody watching the elevator pitch on Nifty? As I say, we've worked together for a very, very long time now. Over at Mad Cats,
sure.
And I know that that when you left Mad Cats, you set about with this grand dream of joining the industry elite, getting everybody together, and launching a new company laser focused on introducing short session mobile titles and fusing that with the greatest sports licenses. So do you think that's a fair analogy? Why did you want to start Nifty Games?
Yeah, I mean, we started Nifty Games now about 2 years ago. We raised some seed funding, and then more recently we closed a Series A funding in late last year. So we've raised a total of about $15 million so far. The reasoning for that is, frankly, that the opportunity for sports games, particularly licensed sports games, has never been better as far as you know, audience addressability and the ability to go find these fan bases that are passionate about each individual sport, and the mobile platform particularly has been available for different types of sports games for quite a while. And sports games, you know, are showing massive growth on mobile as mobile gaming becomes more ubiquitous. Sports is basically kind of, I think about it as part of human life. It's, you know, athleticism, competition, everything you think about when you think about how people behave with one another and in a community aspect, and then as it evolves into gaming, likewise, you know, for mobile, we know how our engagement's going to work. We know where our influences are. You know, when we license the NFL, or when we, you know, the NFL Players Association is a partner of ours, and actually at this point an investor of ours as well. Same thing with the National Basketball Association and the NBA Players Association. They've got fantastic reach and evergreen connection to their fans. And it's an ongoing passion. This is not something that is, even compared to the major entertainment licenses, of whether you say a Star Wars or a Star Trek or, some of the greatest entertainment properties of all time have kind of lulls and dips. Sports is totally different. It's a foundational license partnership where there's, they rejuvenate and they renew on a seasonality basis. Well, pretty much up until now, obviously with the current situation around the globe with pandemic, is interesting that it's, a pause of sports has really been, really been affecting a lot of people. And I think the lack of having that availability of professional sports leagues and the competition, and even from a fandom basis, has been difficult. But sports games themselves have never been none better. Everybody's flourishing. Obviously a lot of that's due to, a lot of.
I'm guessing that due to the lockdown, that more people have been playing sports games than ever before. Not only to keep themselves occupied, we know how the general use of gaming in general, hours spent gaming at home has shot up in recent months. But I guess that for sports fans as well, if they can't get their fix on TV, they're going to want to play online even more, right? So,
and speaking of getting a fix, we do have a video for you if you'd like to watch it.
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
Let's let it ride.
This is kind of a video we thought it's actually I'll give credit to Nike because it is a Nike video, but it does do a great job at capturing the essence of sports and where it stands now.
No one's ever come back from 3-1. An agonizing defeat.
Down 5-1.
She's got to give it all.
We've all been underestimated and counted out. In those moments, we felt like it was over.
It's not looking good for Rafa.
But it's when we're given no chance
Vital, what could Osaka be thinking right now?
that we somehow found that last bit of strength to keep fighting.
Running down to see if he's okay.
And then we did what no one thought we could. Not even ourselves. We came back from the impossible.
Drought is over. 52 years.
From being broken. We found a way when it seemed hopeless. We came back when we should have been long forgotten. And we did it time and time again. Right now, we're fighting for something much bigger than a win or championship. But if we learn anything from sports, it's that no matter how far down we may be, we are never too far down to come back.
You see, I love that video.
There you go. I get goosebumps.
It sets the scene, but I feel that everybody's kind of chomping at the bit to get sports started again and to get into that, right? And so, John, I want to get kind of into the weeds of things. Sports games being a perennial hit and an evergreen hit for so many years. We've already got big behemoths out there. You've got the likes of EA and 2K. They're doing fantastic console sports games. You've got the Madden series, you've got the 2K Sports series. Why do we need Nifty? Surely those guys have got mobile versions as well. Sports games to mobile isn't a new concept.
No, they do. And I mean, for EA and 2K thus far, it's really been much more of kind of an ancillary distribution platform. They're making some of the greatest games of all time, with FIFA, with 2K Hoops, with Madden football. I mean, the fidelity, the realism, even bringing kind of the structural complexity of the sports, particularly when you get into football and when you get into basketball and the way that the games are played, the actual sport. they've never been better. I mean, it's just fantastic. But on mobile, there's different types of gameplay. There's different types of ways to address. Mobile gamers have a different consumption of gaming. It's a bit more, for our standpoint, it's more short session. It's more granular. It's more community based. It's more, we're going down the realm. Our first game has been announced. We're going to do, it's NFL Clash. We've got the league. We've got the players. We've got an infrastructure that is built around, a proven genre at this point. When you look at Clash gaming, certainly Golf Clash has done incredibly well in the sports genre. Tennis Clash is doing great right now. Those guys have done a really nice job. And then even Fishing Clash, frankly, has done well. A lot of these things have proven, that genre of gaming, even beyond Clash Royale, is something that people understand, they want. It's engaging. The retention is excellent. The monetization is there. All of the kind of the basics, the meat potatoes of mobile gaming fit lock and key with what sports is and what sports means to people, and the community aspect, and being able to constantly refresh the content to give people that are already predisposed towards the types of interactions with players and teams and leagues and the sport itself. It's incredible. So for what we're after is just effectually looking at sports less from the, what was essentially, box product into DLC model that a lot of the larger sports games have migrated. And for us, it's much more, we're looking at sports from a purely mobile aspect, data-driven.
And how does that differ? Can you explain a little more about short session versus a console experience?
Yeah, well, it's not just that. It's also the way it's built from the ground up. We're definitely looking at the games we build from an analytical standpoint, using information, a lot of testing going on, a lot of tweaking and tuning, and certainly as we get a soft launch in a couple of weeks, we'll definitely be getting even more tweaking and tuning. We get some tech feedback, we get some player feedback. We start to look at our KPIs and our monetization loops and our larger meta loops as we go along. And so, going free to play in and of itself in a true aspect with gameplay that is engaging and authentic to the sport, but then containing that to, a 4 or 5 minute experience is something that really hasn't been done in a long time. You could say that maybe some of the sports games, when we were kids, had that aspect where you could play pretty quickly and they were far less complex, but they didn't have they weren't the masterpieces of sports gaming that today's console games are.
And why is that authenticity important to a mobile audience, do you think? Why is licensing so important? It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money to secure those licenses. Does it make sense to make licensed sporting product? What does it add to a mobile gamer, do you think?
Well, it does. We've done a lot of study and we've gathered a lot of information. On the mobile aspect, certainly with our first two partners, and we, haven't announced the others yet, but, with the NFL and the NBA, the crossover of gaming to fan base, to, kind of their passionate crew out there that are tuning in, to every game in every territory. Mobile outweighs every other platform. Mobile outweighs console. Mobile farly outweighs PC. And, for us, again, there's commonsensical stuff where mobile's obviously the largest platform in gaming from a revenue standpoint. It's the largest platform growing from a, total margin percentage as far as gaming overall goes. And accessibility, obviously, I think everybody in Pocket Gamer agrees that the product in your pocket is where you want to play your games. And even myself, as I was a passionate Madden gamer and played all kinds of different licensed basketball games as a kid and a gamer growing up. But nowadays it gets a bit more difficult. I don't have the, it's a combination of, I don't have the time that I used to have. I don't have the ability to sit down and have a longer term, 40-minute kind of gameplay session and that 12-foot experience. And I also don't have, my gaming tastes have changed. I always joke that I have the attention span of a very small bird, I'm bouncing around from I love Clash Royale is one of my favorite games of all time. And we were already thinking in this direction as far as looking at how do we maintain authenticity of the sport and the game and have some fun, but simultaneously find a way to do it in a quick session that allows people to engage more often, but on a more, granular basis. I always joke, we're trying to be the Altoid of gaming, the powerful yet small. And I think it's resonated great with, obviously we've secured these licenses that are not particularly easy to get or to partner with. And, we've done that because we've been able to actually work with the partners that understand what we're doing and how it's complementary to what they're doing in gaming and how it's complementary to what they're doing overall in their sport. Because, sports, in the same way that it's constantly regenerating itself on a player level and on a team level and in a competition level, it's also regenerating itself on a fandom basis. I've got now, 600 or 700 kids, and and every one of them is going to be a Red Sox fan. Everyone is they have to be. They have no choice. I'm a Boston guy originally, born and bred. In Nifty Games is in California, so it makes it a bit more difficult to fend off.
There's going to be a lot of folks raging at that, I think.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's I allow them to embrace the Golden State Warriors, and they the San Francisco teams are benign to me, so it's all good.
So I mean, authenticity, a big deal, which is why we've got the license. But how many other folks out there have the license, for instance, for NFL when it comes to
NFL's obviously been incredibly exclusive now for many years, in the sense that they have not partnered with many people. It's not just a contractual exclusivity. It's a partnership exclusivity where, they've worked with Madden and EA to really build that game and that community into their overall yearly schedule. So it's been an incredible win for the NFL and the NFLPA. EA has put forward an effort to build a sports game that, their games run parallel. Between 2K and EA, you could put them up against, even if you leave the genre, you could put those games up against any game that's ever been made. They're so unbelievably good. So, for a gamer that is a fan of sports games, having the players or the real players involved and having the real teams involved and having the real leagues involved and even the way we can synchronize, in-game aspects and, retention and engagement tools with what's going on, on the court or on the field or in the ring or, on the pitch, as they would say. It's a huge advantage. A lot of mobile games, when you're in a fictional realm, if we were making games about, unicorns and leprechauns, there's no preset community. We've got a constellation. We've got, player influencers. We've got, press influencers. We've got the teams that have massive campaigns themselves. The leagues obviously are hugely, competent in working with their fan base and continue to grow. So, and beyond that, even sponsors, networks, broadcasters, there's all kinds of different ways that we can look at, how do we find the right players that like sports games and like what we do? And I think it's a huge advantage.
So the the console system, is well worn and has been for many years now. They release new updates every year. Gamers buy the game and they move on. So how do you work with the likes of the NFL when it comes to monetization and deciding how that's going to work with short session gameplay?
Well, I mean, it's frankly, it's as simplistic as it can be. It's a pure play licensing deal, whether it's console or PC or mobile, very similar. For us, it was more about gathering the right team together, the right talent, allowing the PA, the Players Association, and the league to understand where we're going, being very specific about what we want to do. And Nifty Games is only about sports, and frankly, we're only about sports in a mobile and a clash style. That's what we want to do. That's what we're after. We enjoy that. Our team is built around it. We've kept the team small, but everybody's made sports games before. Everybody's delivered massive titles and serviced them in the live ops for
Well, just very quickly, and I'm conscious of our time, John, but is it worth talking a little bit about the team, or perhaps some of the folks that are backing Nifty and what you're able to bring to the table?
Sure. I mean, our investors are incredible. I mean, I'd like to brag about that all the time. But yeah, we've got great gaming style investors in March Capital and Transcend Fund. Century Game in China has an investment in us. We have great investors from the tech world, like Defy Ventures, which is a real high-class boutique VC in Silicon Valley here in the Bay Area, where I am. But we've also got incredible investors that have background in sports as well as tech. So, our seed funding came from Axiomatic, which, they own Team Liquid as a major function, but their background from the individuals to form that company, they own the Dodgers and the Warriors and the Wizards and, the Capitals, Tampa Bay Lightning. These are guys that as individuals own sports teams. So we've got a lot of owners involved. I think we have at this point, maybe 8 or so NBA owners, 4 or 5 NFL owners. We've got owners from MLS. We've got owners from NHL. We've got owners from MLB. And we've got, even Premier League owners involved. And I think that's really important because they get what we're trying to do. They're cheering us on, and our ability to go and deliver mobile games to an audience that is a bit more casual. We're not like, we're some of the biggest Madden fans out there. And I think the only time I do get to play Madden is when I'm sneaking it in at the office. Rather than when I go home, because when I go home, it's I don't have the time, but we're complementary is what we're going after. And we want to try to use our game to build audiences and find, give people what they want. It's in their pocket. They love the game, the sports. They love the game with the sports. Right now is a very peculiar instance, and we saw the video. I love that idea of Nike hits the nail on the head like every time. But the idea, sports never dies. Sports comes back. Sports wins, and it's a passion. It's something that people get into on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly, all the time, and it's not going anywhere. And people
how in your opinion have sports games evolved or adapted to fit the mobile platform? Do you think and where do you see that going in the future? What exactly is special about short session gaming?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think that at the current time, I think a lot of the sports games that have done well have actually not been licensed. I think they've done well because they've found great mobile mechanics and great gameplay on mobile that is more basically designed from the bottom up to be played on your, phone or tablet. However, I memean, if you look at the game, the titles that have come over that are licensed, whether it's NFL or NBA or FIFA or WWE or, the list goes on. All those games have been successful as well. The money is definitely being made because the audience is there. In my opinion, I think there's an area, obviously we're fully bought into the idea that there's an area between the two where the licensed products combined with the right type of mobile gameplay that, you know, is built specifically for the sport and for the players should generate massive community support. And when we have that, you know, we'll be able to monetize, and onwards we go. And we're just gonna, you know, we're not gonna be a two-horse show. We want to build a slate and build a good little tactical team focused on sports. Kate is back.
Yeah,
which,
we're probably running out of time, right, Kate?
Sorry,
well,
I babbled.
we're
a lot.
getting close. So we do have one question we should address, and again, if people have other questions, feel free to shoot them in the Q&A section down there.
Sure.
But I figured let's, so the first question we have, it's, are officially licensed sports games the only the domain of larger developers? Does the lack of license really hamstring smaller sports games?
No. The short answer is no. I mean, we're a small, you know, live ops publisher, developer. We're very small. You know, startup aspect. It's just a matter of whether or not you can kind of navigate through the complexity of the licensing, which is not easy. But I wouldn't say that smaller developers should shy away from it. I think it's one of the better categories moving forward as far as just a genre of content. You know, if you compared it to, you know, any other major areas within mobile, you know, it's interesting in and of itself, based really upon that idea that there is a predisposed audience that wants to have your content, and it's rare in gaming. You know, it's if you look at companies like EA, it is literally the foundation of their entire business for years, and it's worked. It just continues to work, and they continue to go with that build. And they, you know, they add on things here and there, Star Wars, you know, Titanfall, Apex, you know, nowadays actually, you know, obviously are doing really well. And 2K is very similar. They have Rockstar building phenomenal games in other genres, but then they have the NBA, and that's been their cornerstone. So I think for those are the big guys, but for the smaller developers, yeah, I wouldn't shy away. I would look at things that were more digestible on that level, and look at, you know, the fact that even what some people might think are niche categories actually are really interesting possibilities for, you know, to build a cool game that's a lot of fun and also have an audience that's addressable in the sense that, you know, you can make money. Because obviously at the end of the day, as much as we all want to make really fun games and have everybody have a blast, we need to make money to make sure we can keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have one other question. I guess that kind of, your comments sort of lead into that, is how much does the IP affect user acquisition, like a specific sports franchise versus another?
Sure. You know, the short answer to that is it definitely has a major effect as far as organics go. But from a Nifty game standpoint, and I think, you know, we've got a lot of guys that have a lot of experience in mobile and in live ops. We're not relying upon that. You know, we're not going to be shy with our UA and with treating the games. You know, we want to be A to Z. We're a mobile company. We want to practice mobile techniques. We want to work on our games in the same way as if they weren't branded and geared towards a certain audience. We just happen to know where to drill for oil, you know. So it's a really good advantage, but I would say that it doesn't change our aggressiveness from a user acquisition standpoint. I think hopefully, obviously, like everybody hopes, that it has an effect on you know, lower CPIs and higher LTVs, and, you know, just like every other game maker out there, we want to find the right people who love to play the game and feel good paying for it. So yeah, the short answer is I think it has a really big effect, but it doesn't necessarily affect the way we approach publishing the game.
Well, excellent. Well, with that, yeah, that's a great answer. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up this particular session. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
fantastic.
you, Kate, and thank you for everybody tuning in.